"960 mines, 32 acres of terrain blanketed, one pass, no driver." That is what the U.S. Army just demonstrated at Camp Grayling, Michigan in May 2026, and the announcement came from Picatinny Arsenal on July 7. A system called the Autonomous Volcano laid 2 separate minefields without a human being in the vehicle, without a joystick controlling every movement, and without a combat engineer anywhere near the danger zone. The system is built on a piece of Cold War hardware that has been in the Army's inventory since the 1980s. It now drives itself. The question this video answers is the one the press release alone cannot tell you. What exactly did the Army just prove at Camp Grayling? What does the Autonomous Volcano actually do? And why does a decades-old mine dispenser on a driverless truck matter to how the U.S. Army fights in the next decade? Subscribe to Daily Soldier now. This channel covers the upgrades the Army is making before the next fight arrives, the system, and what it does. The M139 Volcano has been in service since the 1980s, developed in the final decade of the Cold War as a scatterable mine delivery system. According to the Picatinny Arsenal official release, the Volcano dispenser can lay up to 960 mines to create a barrier approximately 120 meters wide and 1,100 meters long. That is a minefield covering roughly 32 acres deployed in a single pass of the vehicle carrying the system. Until now, that vehicle had a driver, a combat engineer, a soldier who had to be present in or near the area being mined, in a vehicle that was placing lethal ordnance on the ground around and ahead of it in terrain that by definition was contested or at risk. The Autonomous Volcano changes that by doing one thing, removing the driver. The M139 dispenser is now mounted on a Palletized Load System A1 truck, a heavy logistics vehicle the Army already operates at scale, integrated with the Forterra autonomy stack and an autonomous by-wire active safety kit. That autonomy package is what allows the vehicle to navigate, position itself, and fire the mine dispenser without a human in the cab or on a joystick. According to the Picatinny Arsenal release published on DVids, the Autonomous Volcano achieves its objective with no human interference necessary. Not reduced human input, no human interference necessary. That phrase is doing significant operational work, and the Camp Grayling demonstration is the proof behind it. What happened at Camp Grayling? On May 19, 2026, at Camp Grayling, Michigan, over 3 days of hands-on training and demonstration, 4 soldiers from the 576th Combat Engineer Company, Armored 4th Engineering Battalion, conducted 2 distinct live-fire scenarios. The first scenario was the historic one. Those 4 soldiers remotely fired M88 canisters from the M139 Volcano for the first time ever. Not manually. Not by driving the vehicle to a firing position and operating the dispenser in person, remotely from a position away from the vehicle and the minefield it was creating. According to Picatinny Arsenal, this marked a major milestone in advanced autonomous mobility for battlefield shaping. The second scenario went further. The system emplaced 2 distinct minefields in 2 separate areas simultaneously, without human interference. The vehicle navigated, positioned, fired, and logged its obstacle placement on its own. And that last detail, the logging, is one that deserves more attention than most reporting on this test has given it. According to the official DVids release, the Autonomous Volcano automatically logs and injects the exact obstacle, coordinates directly into the Army's Common Operating Picture, the shared digital battlefield map that allows commanders and units across the force to see what is where in real time. The system does not just place mines. It tells every commander with access to the COP exactly where it placed them, automatically. without a soldier manually inputting coordinates after the fact. That is a significant digital integration capability layered on top of what was already a significant autonomous mobility capability. And it came from a system developed in the 1980s. Distinguished visitors from the United Kingdom's Ground Maneuver Directorate were present for the demonstration, including the Engineer Commandant, Colonel Tim Hudson, and Future Capabilities Director, Colonel Hector Montemayor. Their presence was not ceremonial. The autonomous Volcano is a joint program between the U.S. and the U.K. Before we keep going, if this is landing differently than you expected, hit the like button right now. It takes 2 seconds and it tells the algorithm to put this video in front of more people. Now back to the story. The strategic problem this solves. Here is the operational context that makes the autonomous Volcano make sense. Combat engineers are among the most exposed soldiers on any modern battlefield. Their job requires them to be at or near the forward line of troops, emplacing obstacles, breaching enemy positions, clearing routes, and shaping the terrain ahead of the maneuver force. That work happens in exactly the places where the enemy is trying to stop friendly forces from advancing, which means engineers routinely work under direct and indirect fire in terrain they are simultaneously trying to make lethal for the enemy. Minelaying specifically has always required vehicles and personnel to operate in those forward areas. The traditional M139 Volcano system, mounted on a heavy expanded mobility tactical truck, required a crew to drive it into position, deploy the mines, and extract before enemy forces could engage. The crew is not operating from a protected position. They are moving through contested terrain in a vehicle that is dispensing ordnance as it goes, in an area that may already be under observation, with an extraction route that the enemy has every incentive to cover. The timing and exposure window for that process is a known tactical vulnerability. It has been a known vulnerability since the M139 was first fielded, and until Camp Grayling, the Army had no way to close it without replacing the Volcano system entirely. The autonomous Volcano removes the vehicle crew from that exposure window entirely. As Colonel Vincent Morris, project manager for Close Combat Systems, stated in the official Army release, the system preserves combat power by removing engineers from the danger zone and forward line of troops while simultaneously allowing multi-vehicle remote firings that enable friendly forces to disrupt the enemy before they can react. That second part of the quote matters as much as the first. Multi-vehicle remote firings. Not one autonomous Volcano operating alone, laying one minefield. Multiple systems simultaneously creating multiple obstacles coordinated from a remote position, while the combat engineers who would have been driving those vehicles are still alive and available for the next mission. The math on that is straightforward. Every combat engineer who is not in a vehicle driving through a contested menelaying operation is an engineer who survives to breach an obstacle, clear a route, or support the next phase of the assault. The autonomous Volcano does not just solve a logistics problem. It solves a force preservation problem that combat engineers have been living with since the M139 was first fielded 4 decades ago. What mainstream coverage never touches. Here is the detail that no general coverage of this test has connected clearly, and it reframes the entire significance of what happened at Camp Grayling. The autonomous Volcano is not the Army's first autonomous ground vehicle test. It is the latest in a pattern of autonomous ground capability demonstrations that the Army has been running across multiple system types in 2025 and 2026. According to Military Times reporting cited directly in the Picatinny Arsenal release context, the Army has tested autonomous vehicles for mortar resupply with the 82nd Airborne. It has tested autonomous boats for information gathering during exercises in the Philippines. It is experimenting with using unmanned aerial systems to drop grappling hooks for breaching operations. And it is testing the concept of sending drones into the breach instead of soldiers. Every one of those tests is solving the same underlying problem from a different angle. How do you keep soldiers out of the most lethal positions on the battlefield while maintaining the ability to shape the terrain, support the maneuver force, and sustain the fight? The autonomous Volcano answers that question specifically for area denial. The grappling hook drone answers it for breaching. The mortar resupply vehicle answers it for sustainment. The autonomous boat answers it for maritime reconnaissance. What is actually happening across these tests is the Army building a doctrine for how autonomous ground and air systems integrate with manned formations in a near-peer fight, not a single technology demonstration. A systematic capability development program across the combat engineering and support functions that put soldiers at the highest risk. Bernie Theisen, Chief Technology Officer at the Army Combat Capabilities Development Command's Armament Center, made this explicit in the official release. The joint development effort with the UK aligns directly with integrated deterrence. The partnership ensures seamless allied interoperability and shared research and development, strengthening coalition posture. This is not a prototype. It is a proof of concept on its way to operational testing. After Camp Grayling, the autonomous Volcano program moves to Project Convergence Capstone 6 at Fort Irwin, California, where on July 13, soldiers will operate the system in multiple realistic battlefield scenarios. On July 29, it will be part of a best-of-breed demonstration to the Secretary of the Army. That timeline matters. Camp Grayling was the proof-of-concept phase. Fort Irwin is the operational testing phase. The Secretary of the Army demonstration on July 29 is the senior leadership evaluation that precedes a transition to program of record. The autonomous Volcano is not being evaluated as a science project. It is on a fielding timeline, answering the question. So here is what the Army just proved at Camp Grayling and why it matters. The M139 Volcano, a system built in the 1980s, can now deploy 960 mines across 32 acres of terrain with no human in the vehicle, log the exact coordinates of every obstacle automatically to the common operating picture, and do it simultaneously with other autonomous Volcano systems operating in different areas. The 4 soldiers from the 576th Combat Engineer Company who conducted the demonstration were remote firing the system and observing, not driving through the danger zone. The combat engineering implication is direct. The soldiers who used to sit in that vehicle, in that contested terrain during that Menelang operation, are now available to do the next thing the unit needs. They are not casualties. They are not recovering from the extraction. They are present in the fight for what comes after. The broader implication is what connects this test to every other autonomous capability the Army has been testing in 2025 and 2026. The Army is not building one autonomous system. It is building an integrated autonomous capability across its most exposed functions, with the autonomous Volcano as the most advanced public example of where that effort now stands. Close, there is a combat engineer somewhere in the Army right now who has driven a minelayer through terrain where the vehicle ahead of his was the thing keeping the enemy from engaging first. He knows exactly what the exposure window feels like. He knows what it costs in concentration and speed to get through that window before the situation changes. He knows what the extraction looks like when it goes wrong, because he has seen it go wrong, or trained with someone who has. The autonomous Volcano does not replace him. It replaces the part of his job that requires him to be in the most lethal position at the most lethal moment. It takes the cab he was sitting in, the cab that was moving through contested terrain while dispensing ordnance, and it empties it. The vehicle still goes. The mines still get laid. The coordinates still go to the COP. The combat engineer is standing somewhere behind the line of contact, watching it happen on a screen, ready for what comes next. He is still in the fight. He is just not in that vehicle. If this changed how you see where Army combat engineering is heading, subscribe to Daily Soldier and tell us, should the Army be moving faster on autonomous systems for combat engineers, Or does removing soldiers from the cab create risks we are not talking about? Thanks for watching.